that we have like 52% of beans above 20 screen and 35/19, which gives a homogeneous bean size. So this one will somehow reduce the problem, the roasting maracaturra, since the beans are more homogeneous. That was clear for us, and we did some sample roasts with Morton and Alex and on a proper sample roaster. And the case was that we want to find out how this coffee reacts in terms of the length of the roast, but also what is the range of the development, how light we can go or how dark. So we had 4 sample roasts, and we had already one idea. And the second thing was we roast a lot of pacamara and maracaturra. So the second thing was to check out our profiles, previous profiles. The difference is that we mainly roast on 20 kilo batches on our 35 Castrel. So we had to go on, we had to go on 2 batches, 15 kilos. And the last year we had a problem with the same category because, the first one we had to throw away because it was too underdeveloped. I mean, it was totally underdeveloped. So we had one chance. This year we had to find another strategy, and the strategy is this one I described right now. We had sample roasting to find out, the length and the level of the roasting degree. And then when you go to the lowering and you have to do actually the production roast, again, since we had a couple of bags available in the warehouse, we did probably, as some other, I think you mentioned, that we had to adapt our maracaturra profile to pacamara. So what we did is that, you want to hit the roasting time, but at the same time keeping one standard all the way, which was the development time. We wanted to hit also the roasting ratio or the roasting degree. So we had a target as a roasting degree, color track or colorette or whatever. We had a target, a set target on the development time, and we wanted to play with a Maillard phase or drying phase, and want to check the results. We have been all the way between 2 roasts, which was the one that Team and the Mateo had, and also you guys, but you roast on 10 kilos, which was like 9.5 minutes, and temperature like yours, 206, 209, 8 hours were 207.6, so more or less the same end temperature, more or less the same DTR. So it was between these 2 roasts, the a darker one, I mean the 9:13 or the 11 minute. So we find some notes that could be could highlight maybe the bitterness in the coffee on the 9:30, but it was much more sweeter. But so we choose the 11 minutes roast, which was more transparent, more clean, not that thick body, but fruity, decent, clean, quite good acidity. And when it comes to the profile itself, if you go one slide back, normally, all the rate of ratio on all the 3 loadings, it was like above 30 per minute. Actually, I didn't start applying heat before. On this one, I didn't, I don't have, unfortunately, I don't have the gas settings. I just didn't do that. So next time. We were 1 minute late in applying the first step of the hit compared to what we normally do. So I think we start to apply the first step after 2 minutes. The reason for that was that it's a high density coffee and it's quite big beans, and the thought was we would like to increase the drying phase. And on this one it was like 5 minutes more or less, approximately. And at that point I think we had about 15 minutes degrees per minute, the rate of rise, and the target was that I want to go to the first crack with like never under 8, but it could be nice, 9 or 10. That would be a good rate.
Per minute.
Per minute.
Yes, per minute.
For
so
this coffee.
when you have 30 seconds here,
So,
yeah,
yeah.
so we have to have
per
that.
minute.
Yeah,
Per
yeah.
minute. Yeah. So I didn't get that. I am, I think, about 9 at that point, and yeah. So the first roast gave me a color which was a roasting degree which was quite light, and the one that we chose. The second one, it was only 10 degrees. Sorry, it's 10 seconds slower, but it came out much darker. So at the end, we chose this one, and yeah.
All right. Are you happy with the result?
Yeah. I mean, we didn't hit the target on the roasting degree. It was, but yeah, almost.
Yeah.
So
all right.
We are happy.
Thank you so much, Simo.
Yeah.
Trude? Confirm. Okay, let's look at that.
Yeah, just look at the roasting time first, 1 a.m. in the morning. That was, yeah, that's kaffa. No. No, sorry, Eric, sorry. It's not true. It's not true.
That's overtime
yeah.
salary. Yeah.
We started with some green evaluation of the coffee, and then we did 3 test roasts on Probat BRC sample roaster, and we found that the one coffee that had the lowest in temperature got the best development and was the sweetest and clearest cup. So we transferred to our Probat UG15 from 1958, and as you can see, our temperatures is a bit different than the Lorings. The first test batch we did of 6 kilos, we had the same drop temp as that, 135 degrees, but we didn't give it enough time in the drying phase and too short development, so it turned out too hay and too green. So we did another test that we gave too much time drying in the drying phase and too little gas that were more baked. So then we had the last batch we did 2 6 kilo batches, so we got 5 kilos out, a little more than 5 kilos, so we had some material to cup as well. So this had the same drop-in temp, 135 I think, and we gave it a long drying phase, but we made it go steeper in the browning phase and more power into first crack, slowing it down and giving it a long development of 1 minute 40 seconds. So we were happy with this cup. It was clean. It was very hard coffee to roast. I never roasted a maracaturra before, and yeah, we had one batch that died, and yeah, it was hard.
What does that mean?
No, it died after crack.
Okay.
Just yeah.
So didn't get enough.
No.
Energy. 1 a.m. I know that it has been some sorting as well.
Yeah.
Of the
a lot of sorting.
Both greens and roasted beans.
Yeah.
Right. Can you tell us something about that? What in this coffee? What you were?
Well, we
finding?
knew we were up against the Loring people, and we had to, you know, work with our 1958 machine, and we just wanted the cleanest cup as possible. So we did everything we could, and we sorted for hours and hours before roasting it, and also we looked at it under UV light, and we sorted a lot after roasting, and also before packing, because we found a bean here and there, and we were just...
How many Quakers did you take out of this coffee? Do you
Michelle?
remember?
No. I think for 6 kilo batch, we took out 500 grams before, and then there was a lot of sorting after as well.
What we'll do is, after the result tonight, we'll just decide if we do that on all coffees. Or
Yeah.
Or never again.
Especially under UV light, all the 39 kilo batches.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything else you want to add now?
I learned a lot.
Yep.
It was both about green coffee and maracaturra, and trusting my instincts when it comes to coffee that's, you know, hard to roast and doesn't follow the other profile I did of it. So yeah, it was interesting.
All right. Cool. Thank you. Kjetil?
Yeah. Hello.
Yes.
So, I did many tries, many attempts. I thought I was going to talk about the Pacamara roast, so but this is from the maracaturra. So this is the second attempt of a 6 kilo batch on Diedrich 12 kilo. So there's a lot of notes there for you to look at. Starting off much like I usually do, I roast between 6 and 12 kilo batches, but mostly washed, so a bit more air on this roast. Always start with 0 air from start on the Diedrich setting, and then gradually increase the air flow. It's super fun to try to roast both the coffees for this competition. So the biggest learning for my 18 months in coffee has been this weekend. So it's super nice to. I only roasted Verona Diedrich, so it's exciting to listen to. Yeah, did something funny with airflow to try because there was a lot of chaff, so to try to get rid of it, get it out of the drum, I did this, just ramp it up to 100 and then go back. Because if you look in the Diedrich and you see there's just chaff everywhere, you get panic. You have to get it out to make it nice. Yeah. The 6 kilo batches was better on this than the 4 kilo batch, but on the Pacamara, the 4 kilo batch was a lot cleaner, I think, than 6 kilo. Yeah.
How did you, if you compare to other profiles you had, how did you work with the drying phase here?
It's much like I always start, almost always on 170 degree charge. Usually always try to go quite high energy on start to try to get some acidity into the coffee. And then yeah, here I went down a little bit, but I mean from oh yeah, I'm looking at on the reference curve. You can see that I went down a bit, but on this batch here I actually went up a bit on gas towards the end to push first crack, and then also with air.
All right. Were you happy with the cup?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you recognize it?
No.
Which one?
No way.
Is number 8 yours? Answer?
No.
No. Okay. Sorry, no. I like number 8. All right. Anything you want to add?
No.
No? Thank you so much. Okay, let's go back to Sweden then. And Stockholm. Jack.
Yep. I started with the maracaturra, and I roast on a Gießen. It's a 6 kilo, 2018. It has variable drum speed and variable airflow. And when I get a new coffee, I have a few standard profiles that I would just put it in a small amount and see where it lands. It's like throwing an arrow into the dark, or into the dusk. And the very first roast I did with this maracaturra, I cupped it and brewed it 2 days later, and I was like, wow, I'm 90% happy with this. This is going to be easy. So I focused then on the Pacamara instead. And I would say going from 90% happy to probably 96, 97% happy where I landed was actually quite difficult. And I think the fact that this was a honey process made this especially difficult for me, because the smallest changes in how I was applying the gas meant that that layer of honey would develop and become really sweet, or it would go up in flames, and I did a couple that became quite ashy. I play with the airflow almost in the same way. The airflow on the Gießen is measured in pascals, and I usually start at 90 pascals, which is quite closed. And at the same time that I go from 90 pascals to 100, I'm going from 90 gas down to 80. And so I pressed the wrong button. Only for 5 seconds or so, I went from 90 gas to 100 gas, and everything else was the same, and the result was just ash. It was, and I think that's because of the honey. The charge temperature on this is around 185, I think. And that's a bit lower than I would usually do in this machine. I usually start around 190, 191 for a washed, smaller coffee. But the experience with the Pacamara was showing me that it was better to go a little bit more gently into the drying phase. And I start with quite low energy, around 30% gas until I get to turning point, and then I increase the gas depending on the bean and the other tests I've done, but usually to around about 70 or 80%. And as I approach the peak rate of rise, I really try and push it. So sometimes I get up to 90 or 100% gas just at peak. I don't think the gas is here, and I don't know what is in the background. I don't remember. I did a lot of tests on this. And my approach was I will roast it and examine the color. And if I prefer one out of the 2 or 3 roasts, I'll sort of say, well, this is the color I want. And I have the little Tonino gizmo, so it's the least expensive. But it's really good for helping me be consistent. And then I will approach, how do I get this color in different ways? So will I go slowly or will I go quickly? And in the end, I sort of went lagom with this roast. So the first crack happened around about 193 and around about 9.5 minutes, maybe 9, oh yeah, it's there. Everything was a little bit slower than with a smaller bean. And I try to, as I'm approaching first crack, I'm probably at a rate of rise of around about 4 or 5 for 30 seconds. And then, just when I know it's coming, I will give quite a lot of gas to try and avoid it collapsing. There was some nice acidity, I think, in this bean to be found, and I kept baking that out in a few of the tests, so I really tried to just come in at the very end with some extra energy to avoid it collapsing. Yeah.
All right. Interesting, also cast iron roaster, right?
Yes.
But much higher in temperature than the ProBat.
Yeah, it's cast iron, but it feels like it's a little bit more responsive to changes than the ProBat.
Super interesting. Yep. Yes, Tim is hungry, so we all need to go to lunch, apparently. No, of course. What we will do now is we will show the results, so take a picture, bring it with you to lunch, and I'll see you in an hour again. And we will continue talking to you. Number 8?
Andreas?
Doesn't matter, I don't know what it is.
Alex? Sett meg. Det ikke bare meg. Det noen som da? Jævlig avstand fra der hvor Ettålstad til der hvor det slår seg. Det var litt sånn, hadde tenkt noe seier eller noe steg.